ban all the ninjas out of the game, guys. Zed is not enough. Shen, Akali, and Kennen still exist.
Yeah, and that's what Ninja's going to bring out next.
Yeah,
he has
the
to
Akali mid, the Bruiser Akali that we haven't seen in competitive.
Stay true to his lore. Clearly.
Exactly. He's only allowed to play energy champions. But yeah, Corki also off the table. Nidalee, Kalista, Renegades just... It's interesting as well because we know Crumbzz is a good Nidalee. We know Freeze has a great Kalista. But they're just kind of chopping things off the top that, though both teams can play it, they really don't want to give TSM no Kagi for Renegades. So I wonder what this leaves up as the exciting first pick here. It could be Gragas with Nidalee gone. It could be a Nautilus, as always.
Yeah, Nautilus is trending upwards as far as what is willing to be first picked. A lot of the other power picks are taken, and surprising number of target bans here. LeBlanc and Zed I would both consider as target bans in this matchup, which means we have more power and flex picks to come through. Gragas is one, Heimerdinger is not one, Nautilus would be another.